All right, fourth grade. It's the final chapter of White Fang, chapter 17, The Sleeping Wolf. It was about this time that the newspapers were full of the daring escape of a convict from San Quentin prison. He was a ferocious man. He had not been born right, and society had treated him poorly. In San Quentin, he fought the guards and other prisoners. The more fiercely he fought, the more harshly the guards handled him. This only made him fiercer. He was a beast, this Jim Hall. During Jim Hall's third term in prison, he came up against a guard that was almost as great a beast as he. The guard treated him unfairly, lied about him to the warden, and tormented him. One day, Jim Hall killed this guard. He was sent to a small cell where he stayed for 3 years, completely alone. He never left. He saw no one. His food was shoved into him. He growled like a wild animal. He hated all things. And then one night, he escaped. 3 dead guards marked his trail through the prison to the outer walls. He was hunted day and night with bloodhounds, but Jim Hall had disappeared. In the meantime, the Scott family nervously read the newspapers. The women were afraid, but Judge Scott laughed, though even he worried. For in his last days as a judge, Jim Hall had stood before him and was sentenced to 50 years in prison. And in the courtroom, Jim Hall had sworn that if he ever got free, he would come looking for the judge. Then Jim Hall went off to prison and escaped. White Fang knew nothing of all of this, but he and Alice, the master's wife, shared a secret. Each night, after all of Sierra Vista had gone to bed, she arose and let in White Fang to sleep in the big hall. Now the wolf was not a house dog, so early each morning she slipped down and let him out before the family was awake. On one such night, while the house slept, White Fang awoke and lay quietly. A strange man had paused at the front of the staircase. Up that staircase was the family White Fang knew to protect. The strange man's foot lifted. White Fang gave no warning and no snarl. Into the air he sprang and landed on the strange man's back, dragging him over backward. There were revolver shots. A man's voice screamed in horror. Snarling followed, and a smashing and crashing of furniture and glass. The house awoke in alarm. Whedon and Judge Scott came down the stairs. In the middle of the smashed furniture partly on his side, his face hidden by an arm, lay a man. Whedon turned the man's face upward. He was clearly dead. Jim Hall, said Judge Scott. Then he turned to White Fang. He, too, was lying on his side. His eyes were closed, with the lids lifted to look at them, and the tail tried to wag. Then his eyelids drooped and went shut. His body relaxed and flattened out upon the floor. He's done for, muttered the master. We'll see about that, said the judge, as he started for the telephone. Frankly, he has 1 chance in 1,000, announced the surgeon after he had worked an hour and a half on White Fang. 1 broken hind leg, 3 broken ribs, 3 bullet wounds, a great loss of blood. I should say he hasn't a chance in 10,000. But he mustn't lose any chance, exclaimed Judge Scott. Never mind the expense. Put him under x-ray, anything. Whedon, telegraph at once to San Francisco for Dr. Nichols. He must have the advantage of every chance. White Fang received the best care available. The ladies nursed him, and White Fang won out on that 1 chance in 10,000. For he had come from the wild, where the weak do not survive. He clung to life with an iron will. He lingered out the weeks in bandages and plaster casts, unable to move about. He slept long hours and dreamed much. Once again he lived in the den with Kitchy, or he crept to the knees of Gray Beaver. He ran from Lip Lip and the puppy pack. He lived again his days with Beauty Smith. At these times he whimpered and snarled in his sleep. The family looked on and said that his dreams were bad. Then came the day when the last bandage and the last plaster cast were taken off. All Sierra Vista was gathered around. The master rubbed his ears, and the master's wife called him the blessed wolf. After several failed attempts, he stood on his 4 legs, tottering and swaying back and forth. The blessed wolf, cheered the women. Yes, blessed wolf, agreed the judge. That will be the name for him. He'll have to learn to walk again, said the surgeon. Take him outside. Outside he went, like a king, with all the family around. He was very weak. He reached the lawn, rested, and then finally reached the stables. There in the doorway lay Collie with 6 pudgy puppies, playing about her in the sun. Collie snarled a warning, and White Fang was careful to keep his distance. The master helped one waddling puppy toward him, telling White Fang that all was well. The puppy sprawled in front of him. White Fang cocked his ears and watched it curiously. Then their noses touched, and he felt the warm little tongue of the puppy on his jowl. White Fang's tongue went out, and he licked the puppy's face. The family clapped their hands and sent up cheers. White Fang was surprised and looked at them in a puzzled way. The other puppies came sprawling toward him, to Collie's great disgust. He calmly permitted them to clamber and tumble over him as he lay with half-shut, patient eyes, drowsing in the sun. The end. I hope you liked it. I miss you guys, and have a wonderful summer, and I can't wait to see you next year. Bye.